Hello everyone, this is Lori from Grammy's Keepsakes, and I've been working on some policy envelopes. I've been using wallpaper, book pages, fussy cuts, labels, muslin, and sewing machine, and lots of glue to make them. These are 9 by 12. They have a hemp closure and they have a gusset out of the fabric. The inside is wallpaper, and what I did collage on the wrong side or the paper side so that the inside shows the decorative part of the wallpaper. And I made them in sets. So I have 9 by 12 and 6 by 8. And the same thing has the little gussets. So you can put all kinds of goodies in these. And then also did some stamping, stenciling on the backs. So let's take a quick look through the ones that I made and let me show you my process. These are using tailor-made journals, French documents, kit number 2. And because the kit, the digital, was so beautiful, I didn't do a lot of stamping and stenciling. I just did a little bit. Here's a label, and then I have the fussy cut tulip and labels here. And then on the back, just some labels up here at the top and down here at the bottom. And just collaged a bunch of the pretty documents. And here we have the amaryllis. So just gorgeous. It was so much fun to play with that. And here we've got, I call it my purple set. And I've just used all kinds of book pages, German, Russian, shorthand. There's some French, there's Polish, Norwegian, and English. And Spanish. I don't know if I said Spanish. But this is the purple set. And a lot of the book pages are very old. This one's French. And music pages too, of course. And I had to make one for Christmas too. I've got a fall one in the works too, but it's not ready yet. So let's go ahead and make one. Put those all aside so they don't come tumbling down. Okay. And this gives you an idea of how I cut them. This is for the large. And for the back piece with the flap, I cut it 15 inches by 9 inches. And then I scored at 12. And for the front part of it, this is 11 and a half by 9. And then it measured halfway and did a half circle cut. So let's put that aside. We're going to work on this small one. So I've got the back just plain, and the front I did a little bit of stenciling, and I did cut out the thumb hole, and I did stitch around that. This part of the stitching is first. Of course you don't need to stitch, but then you need to make sure you glue it very well. And I'm going to use, this is going to be another Christmas one, so I'm going to use this little pine bough, and I want to stamp a grid pattern behind it and determine kind of where I want it and just stamp that down. It's just for some background. And what I should do, before I actually start, putting the decorations, I got ahead of myself. What I like to do is measure this front and make a mark. This is 6 inches wide, so I'm going to make a mark at the 3. Okay, and for the small 6 by 8 size, this is 10 1/4 by 6. And then I scored at 2 1/4. And this piece is cut 7 1/2 by 6. I missed that part with this one. Okay, and then I want to get them lined up, bring this down, grab my little punch that I'm going to use, pop that in, and fold it down so that I know where I want to bring my button. So and I'm going to give it a little dot at the 3 inch, just below the tab. So when this is closed, it'll sit like that. Now I can decorate it because I know where that is. So if I, if I did it this way, the button would be on top, and then my gluing would get a lot of excess wear from the hemp or whatever string closure you want to work with. So that's why I'm going to offset it a little bit like this. And with the stenciling here, I don't really want to put it there. Let's use the green. I like that. Move our pieces to the side and grab my glue book. And I'm going to use Scotch Create permanent glue stick. It's my favorite. that nice and pressed down. I was going to tip it the other way, wasn't I? Well, this way works too. It's all fluid, isn't it? Get a little label. With all the others, I had them going this way, so I suppose I'm in my routine. And we'll put a little cluster of labels and this little tiny dot. Okay, let's do some stamping up here. I'm going to move that aside. And I'm using an archival, VersaFine Archival Onyx Black. Get it so I can see. And let's put a label up here too. Oh, everything's falling. Let's go with this label. And I have it evened up with the edge of this block. And so I'm just gonna try to align it. And if it's crooked, that's okay too. Okay. And then I want to take a look at it. How does it look? Get your eyes moving around it. I have a little tiny 3 filigrees that I'd like to use that. And I don't think so. Let's see if I can find, let's use, nope, that scroll is too big. Let's do this. And I like to have that up there because when you open the flap, then you have a little something here. And it is going to be stitched around. And we have our flap. So now in the back, well, let's cover this up. That's dangerous around me. So now what I want to do is a little bit of stenciling on here. And I'm going to do it two-toned. I've got this peeled paint distress ink and a makeup sponge. Whoop. Slippery. Okay. Okay, let's put the green away. And now I'm going to use the tea dye. And I like to use two colors. It adds so much depth. And I don't get the whole stencil evenly with the second color. Move that aside. And then I have a label stamp that I'd like to put up in the top corner. Let's close that to make it easier for me to see. All of my stamp blocks are doing double duty. I've got a stamp on both sides of them. Okay. And then I need a little round stamp. Yeah. And we'll stick a little label down here on the bottom. Glue. Can't find the glue. Okay, and then I have this piece of grid washi and a bottle cap, a little sprayer cap, and I'm going to use this for my stamp. Use anything you have. Everything is fair game. And now I have a little circle. And I'm going to use my 3/4 inch punch and punch out my label. Grab some vintage photo ink. I have a new sponge, so it doesn't have any residual on it yet. Okay, that's good. Get it nice and grungy. And then peel off the backing. And I have let's put a little bit of this on it too. Kind of light. I don't want this one to be very dark. And I'm using a vintage photo, and I'm going off of the envelope. Okay, and then I'm going to grab the sponge from the green, but I'm not adding any more ink to it, and I'm just going to dot it. Just pounce a little bit. And you just get this little bit of faint in the background. And then I have my accent. There, just a little touch. Let's put the ink away. Now we're going to grab the sewing machine. Well, let's go ahead and punch this, and then we'll do the sewing machine and get that going. And I have my crocodile, want it to the 3/16 hole. I'm going to go ahead and punch on my black dot. And grab my circle. And this is a 1-inch, and I cut one on craft paper, and then I cut another on 110-pound cardstock, glued them together, and then I also cut 1/2-inch circles, one of the cardstock and one of the 110-pound, and glued it to the back, inked around it, and punched it in the center. So I have a nice, sturdy, durable button. And put my eyelet in. And the setting for the eyelet to get a nice finish like that is A2 for the 3/16. If you were using 1/8, put your settings on C4. Okay, I'm going to like that. It needs a little something here, I think. I'm going to have to think on that. What would I like it to be? Well, let's move my ink pads so I don't knock them on the floor while I grab the sewing machine. Gonna need that. Okay, and before we get into sewing too much, let me tell you about my muslin. For the 6x8 envelopes, I ripped pieces of muslin 2.5 inches wide by 7 1/8 long. And I ripped it and frayed it, and then I just stitched on the 2 short ends, and I have 2 of those. And then I fold them in half lengthwise and press it so that it naturally wants to fold inward. And then I also have a strip, and what I did was I cut or ripped a 1-inch strip, and then I cut it down the center. And this we're going to glue on the bottom, so we've got a little bit of the fringe on the bottom of our envelope also. So we're going to use Fabri-Tac for this side. And I'm going to glue on the wallpaper, and I'm using Fabri-Tac because it is a shiny, it's a vinyl scrubbable type wallpaper, and it's from a sample book that I have, but nothing really sticks to it, but this will. And it's going to temporarily tack it for me to hold it in place so that I can stitch it. So I'm going to go along the one long edge, and I'm going to go ahead and do the other also. But you can do one at a time till you get used to it. I take my muslin with the valley side and place it near that edge. Pick it up so you can see on this side. Make sure you've got your fringe showing. And I want it to be fringy at the top because I do not want it to go all the way to the bottom, or else you'll be sewing your hinge into the bottom and then it won't open as nicely. And then the other side, same thing. And flip it over. So you've got that fringe. Okay, and this is Fabri-Tac, and I'm going to sew, so it does dry pretty quick, but I'm going to give it a second. And while it's doing that, I'm going to glue this to the back along the bottom. And that's just going to buy me some time, and then I won't forget to do it later. And I flip it over, manipulate it a little bit if you have to. And press that down. And you do not want a lot of glue on any of this. It's just enough to hold it in place. Okay, now hopefully you can see what I'm doing. I am going to stitch near about 1/8 of an inch in from the side of the paper, all in a straight stitch all the way down. But up at the top, because it is a working hinge, I am going to backspace or back tack it. And all the way down to the bottom. And then we can go up the other side. And a back tack up here at the top. And I like to clip my threads. So now we've got working hinges. Now we need to do some more gluing. We have to glue these to those. So this one, I'm only going to glue one at a time. And I'm going to start about 1/2 inch from the score or fold. And it's going to look like this. So I want this end and I want to make sure that some of it's guessing. Okay, that looks like it's going to line up. Bring it over, tack it down. Now we're going to do this side. And bring this one over. And manipulate it before you stick it down really good. Get just the fringe. You want it, just move it where you need to so that it's where you like it. Personal preference. So now it's not connected on the bottom. We're not going to do that until we've stitched all the way around. Now this is the first one I glued, so it'll be dry first. This is the second half. So we're going to start with the first half and stitch. And we're going to come all the way and around the flap and all the way back down. It'll be easier to see for you in just a second. See, we're going to come all the way around the flap now. And then now I'm going to shift my front over so it's not going to be in the way. Okay, clip my threads. So now my hinge is on my little bag. Now we're going to do the bottom. So these go in and I push them down out of the way. I line up my front and my back, and I sew from the front side on that little 1/8 inch, and I use my presser foot as a guide. And I am going to back tack both the start and the end on these. It's going to get wear because it's the bottom of the bag. My threads clip. Let's move this out of the way. So now we have a little pouch, a little bag. And now we want to fix our hinges because we manipulated them out of our way. So now you can poke it in there, poke it in there, and so Now it's working. Now we need our little button at the top, or our tab. And you can use a punch like I have, or you can use a circle punch, or you can use anything you want. Or you can use another button. But I'm going to apply glue on both halves. And I have that little pencil mark. I'm going to slip it underneath. Try to center it with that pencil. And then also with my button tab. Up to that fold. And push it down. Making sure I don't have glue anywhere. And that art glitter glue won't hold it alone on the wallpaper, but when you use your crocodile and another eyelet, it will. So I'm going to make a mark where I want the hole to, well, I don't need to use that great big one where I can't see. We can use the little one. It's easier to see and manipulate. So I don't want to cut the thread, so I need to make sure that the hole is up above the stitching, and go ahead and punch. And then grab an eyelet. And it's all set. Now I need my twine, or my jute, and I was using this 20-pound hemp cord. And for the small one, I use 18 inches. And for the large envelope, I use 20. And personal preference. Fold in half. And I bring it up from the bottom. And before I pull it tight, I make sure my ends are even. Hold on to them and tighten her up. And then I'm just going to make an overhand knot. And because it's rustic, it can land wherever it wants. And then it fits in there. You just wind it around once and you're good. And you have lots of room for growth in the little envelope. And these sets of policy envelopes that I made will be available in my Etsy shop. So go ahead and take a look. Thank you for watching and have a creative day.